Welcome back to War Thunder and welcome to kind of a roundup of my opinion about BF-109s, and in particular with all the arguments made, or all the facts presented being about the Italian BF-109 G-14/AS. I finally have spaded it. I kind of took a unique spading way. It's not too fancy, to be honest, but I focused on the uniqueness of this plane. Currently in the Italian tech tree, being the only one capable of equipping gun ports and at the same time 30mm cannons. Now, as a player that has played German planes for quite a while, they had this capability as long as I can remember, and it always presented kind of a very unique pattern. Not completely unique. I mean, there are some Russian yaks that also can do it, and I think maybe some other planes. Not quite sure about this. I mean, the F-82 for the Americans with its gun port, the 50 cal gun port. But the 30mm are very unique for the Italian prop aircraft, as they just present the highest burst mass, the most unique array of weaponry. You can choose of triple 20mm or two 30mm, one 20mm in the nose or one 30mm in the nose, and two 20mm gun ports, and altogether is also a little bit spiced up by 13mm machine guns. About the 13mm machine guns, I think they are not as good as the American 50 cals in both the damaging effect. It just doesn't feel like it. Even with the stealth belts or air targets, whatever belt you use, they kind of rely on RNG or lucky hits, so to speak. For the 20mm, they are your bread and butter. If you can't manage to make them work, you have a huge problem both in the German and also the Italian tech tree. Then there's also the 30mm, and the 30mm are just kind of what really makes this plane work. Here is an LA7. I get a little bit sideways. Boom! Yeah, this is a head-on machine. This is a battery ram, so to speak. It's a battery ram of a plane, and here he tricked me really nicely with the negative elevator. But the second LA11 is kind of in a follow-up, so in this respect I kind of bear to go into a little bit of maneuvering fighting. Here obviously we play against the Russians, and this is incidentally the first time in a very long time, or if at all, if I have played with the Italians against the Russians. And here I get a nice hit into him. Rip, sadly, one of my flaps. That was purely my mistake. Knowing the 23mm all too well, since I also did the first impressions on the LA11, which I think about revisiting. And there are also problematic muzzle velocity and behavior. I felt not really in a drawback situation here, or a bad situation. And now, the major part about the BF-109s is you always have to look at a plane from a tactical standpoint, and how it actually plays alone by itself, so within a team or without the team. Many planes do not have very good capabilities in overall 1 versus 1 situations, where it's very difficult for them to get into an advantage and to hold that advantage. And I think this is what that I fail greatly, to just keep it with my Germans. This LA11 here is a decent plane overall, but with 3 people on him, he has its difficulties. And overall, the matter of this match is that the plane, the BF-109, is, for me personally, all about the firepower. There are people that like their planes with a single 20mm and want to make it work, and if you're one of them, I mean, you can get shots like this. That was a pilot snap, but it was a rather lucky hit because he was rolling, maneuvering against multiple targets at once. So again, this is like the K4 that I made a video about, naming it a swarm predator. The plane itself is not very good, and it also gives you not a real advantage in a swarm compared to, for example, a Spitfire swarm. But then you have more and more opportunities where you get your guns on target, and I think that is a major drawback that I just can't make work. Many people said I should stop bashing on German planes and, you know, stop saying that they are bad, but the fact is they are. The only good thing is more cosmetic than really playstyle ways. I think there is not a single person that would say, okay, in a 1 versus 1 situation I would rely on a German plane. In theory, again, they have certain advantages like top speed and so on, but at the end of the day, I said it again, I'm sorry about this, but I try to reduce saying at the end of the day, but at the end of the day this is how I say it. Okay, jokes aside, I'm following here this IL-10, firing my last 5 rounds, overleading here, which is kind of a bit strange, you know, with 30mm, and it seems like I hit him quite hard, so he goes down for my next kill. And now I think it's time to go back to base. But now we come to the team play aspect and to how your mindset must be. Against the allies, it's very simply, first you harvest the bombers, then you try to still be in a swarm and then to engage the enemies, and they do you the favor by themselves going for you one by one. And while you're inferior in a 1 versus 1, you get trimmed, you get trained to think tactically, to think in a team play manner when flying, you know, Germans in particular. Again, the Japanese completely don't rely on this, but they still do it, which makes them feel completely overpowered, which to a certain degree they are. I mean, those flight models, let's say that they have a great benefit of the doubt if it comes to, you know, restrictions of flight models. For the Germans, it seems like that they are too well known, that too many people just know how Bf-109 flies, and the creator of German flight models said, okay, I know it can't do this, it can't do that, it must be realistic, and at the end of the day you end up with a plane that is so easy to avoid. And I know that from both sides, playing against them and playing with them. So that means when I'm in an Axis team, I don't really... I often wonder how people survive so long against Spitfires and so on when they're in a maneuvering fight, because whatever I do, cutting the throttle, deploying the flaps, you know, coming from a dive and so on, the Bf-109 always seems to work against me. It always locks up, the roll rate is very, very, you know, limited. It doesn't depend how much gun pods or not you have. The plane always feels stuck. And this plane is nearly fully upgraded in terms of flight performance and weaponry. It's completely fully upgraded. This now flies like the German that I've spaded for quite a while. But the tactical point was, despite being low on ammunition and, you know, having no advantage from my 30mm gun pods that hold me back, but, you know, I think I still have more advantages from using them. I mean, it's your personal flavor if you take the 20mm or the 30mm. It just happened to be that I had equipped this loadout and I thought to myself, well, go for it. So, to summarize it up, the Bf-109 by itself is, in my opinion, in my personal opinion, not competitive. It is too restricted in its capabilities. You lose an advantage way too fast against a player at your own skill level. That is also important because, yeah, I see very often gameplay where a Bf-109 pilot harvests idiots and harvests bombers, which I complained for like a year about, you know, which is actually one of the drawbacks, while Spitfires win not every single game that they're in. Either they're facing Japan, where they then get seal clubbed like they deserve it, you know, it's kind of always a guilty pleasure of mine. If I'm too fed up with Spitfires, I just take a Japanese plane and let them have some of their own medicine. Thank you very much. This is, you know, not salty. I'm actually pretty happy at the moment, as this was the last match. It also was the best that I had, and incidentally it was against the Russians. But in a moment we will see another portion of highly interesting team play and sacrifice and trust. Trust is very important. If you are a new player, I highly advise you against flying German planes for two reasons. Their overall capabilities, as I mentioned before, are not in your favor. I mean, yeah, the early ones, the E-series, they are very good planes, and while they are a little bit affected or infected with something called instructor, hello my old friend, I think overall they just cut it. The MG FFMs, I love them. BF109 E4, also the Japanese premium version, then also the Thunder League one, the E7, I love them. They're beautiful planes and people also seem to love them. But when it then comes to the F-series, well, they are kind of the last stop before the bullshit flight models of the G-series really begin. It's not the plane itself, it's the players playing them and the circumstances. Again, I repeat, when you fly against, you know, your usual American, British team, there are always 3 to 4 bombers, a handful of attackers, and once you have harvested them by not flying completely mad, you know, you outnumber then the enemy fighters. And then they just throw away their advantages with going into head-ons or dueling with multiple friendly aircraft at once, throwing away their altitude advantage. You know, like I've shown a little bit of it with the P-38 K gameplay lately. You have the advantage, but you really can't use it. Again, and the second reason why you shouldn't begin with the Germans is you need to get a little bit into team play before you join the German teams. Because it's not so easy and it's always not very nice to get yourself into a position that you don't profit from. And here we can see one of my allies, Vilida, I hope I pronounced it right, is chased by a Yak-3. I want to put pressure on the Yak-3 by, you know, forcing him to not go in a straight line anymore. He does not really want to go into the head-on. Smart move, despite him having also a very good armament, and here you can see how sluggish the plane works. He turns around and I know what a Yak-3P is capable of pulling bullshit off. So I go up and he catches up. He catches up, you know, while doing a full turn, and I get hammered by him. I try to avoid it. Oh, he hit my water, I'm damaged, and you know, please notice the amount of damage. And then he gets taken out by the one that I wrote in chat with. This is communication, and it just felt so good watching him burn. Ah, I love burning yaks. They are just the best you can see after exploding IS-6s, of course. Then there is the Li-7, and suddenly I get thrown off target. I could have had him, but the plane didn't want to move like I wanted due to the battle damage. Sadly, the Li-7 took out my friend that I put so much trust in, you know, baiting the Yak-3P. And now I'm using the one strength that the BF109 has. 30mm smashing right in his face and blowing him apart for my 5th kill, and that's the match. And that is what this plane is so much better at than so many other Italian aircraft. While they have 2 and even 3 20mm by default, being able to play around with 30mm against fighters and bombers, you know, to just smash them, especially against the 4-engine bombers, that is the advantage of the BF109K4. Sadly, it's a long, stupid grind to get those modifications. And here you can see the upgrade way. Let's have then also a quick look at the post-battle results. So the bombing pylon was the last module that I had to research. So for my 5 kills and 2 ground units that I destroyed, and all the other medals that I received, I gained 107,000 silver lines, 5,822 modification research points, and 8,267 vehicle research points. So the income was quite nice. That was an ace in the BF-109 G-14. Team play, situational awareness, and just playing together with your teammates is, you know, the one that I think. Before I end the video, just here a quick reminder. I think that for the 30mm, use the universal, not the night tracers. I think it's just that something is wrong with the night, as there were many sparks. For the 20mm, you have a bit more variety. For the 13mm, either stealth or air targets. So that's it for me today. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this video, and yeah, my opinion on the German planes is still split, but let me know again your opinion. And do you think that that commentary was a bit more on point and a bit more politically correct, so to speak? Yeah, let me know. So we will see each other in the skies of War Thunder.